Hello and a very warm welcome to today's session brought to you by Team Testbook Super Coaching. I hope all of you are doing really well. देरी नहीं करते हुए फटाफट से आज के इस क्विक कॉन्सेप्ट सेशन को स्टार्ट करते हैं. आज I want all of you, चाहे आप पीटर बेरी फॉलो कर रहे हो, प्रमोद के नायक फॉलो कर रहे हो, हबीब्स फॉलो कर रहे हो, रमन सेल्डन फॉलो कर रहे हो, कोई और बुक जो भी आप रेफर कर रहे हैं फॉर योर लिटरेरी थ्योरी एंड क्रिटिसिज्म, प्लीज इंश्योर कीजिएगा कि आज आप उस पर्टिकुलर बुक में से पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म के कॉन्सेप्ट को, पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म के चैप्टर को अच्छी तरह से एक बार रिव्यू कर लीजिएगा. जस्ट गो बैक टू इट, रीविजिट इट, एक बार प्रॉपरली उसके थारो नोट्स बना लीजिएगा. सो आज की कॉन्सेप्ट क्लास इसी पे ही डील करेगी ताकि प्रॉपरली आपका जो कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म है या डीकंस्ट्रक्शन है, जो वेरी ऑफन कंसिडर किया जाता है, ओवरलैप किया जाता है विद पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म एज वेल. लेकिन पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म को हम सेपरेटली एक बार डील करेंगे. पोस्ट मॉडर्न राइटिंग्स एंड लिटरेचर आपके लिए बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट रहता है, तो दैट विल बी डेल्ट विद इन अ डिफरेंट सेशन ऑल टुगेदर. तो जल्दी से देरी नहीं करते हुए फटाफट से लेट्स जस्ट क्विकली डाइव इनटू लुकिंग एट द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म. देखिए इसमें दो तीन कॉन्सेप्ट्स जो हम लोग कवर करने वाले हैं. सबसे पहला कॉन्सेप्ट आ जाता है द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ किस तरह से देयर इज अ कंप्लीट destabilization of any sort of order in terms of what you are able to see is कि decanonization हो रहा है, the process of disruptive reading start हो रहा है when we are looking at post structuralism. So काफी सारे concepts, काफी सारे terms जो आपके associated हैं, that is something that हम लोग इस quick revision class के माध्यम से we will be looking at. So we'll be covering a couple of concepts like किस तरह से आपका concepts आते हैं like a priori, आपका deconstruction concept आ जाता है. So all of those concepts in greater detail हम लोग देखेंगे आज के इस particular session के माध्यम से. So this session is going to be dedicated to your post-structuralist theories. जो post-structuralist theories आ रही हैं, post-structuralism आ रहा है, which is very often synonymous with deconstruction as we are able to see. तो उस चीज को हम लोग अच्छी तरीके से कवर करेंगे, बहुत ही क्विकली कवर करेंगे. रैपिड कॉन्सेप्ट रिविजन क्लास है ये, दैट इज व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू बी लुकिंग एट. ठीक है, so let's just quickly dive into, let's just quickly see and understand this a little better ताकि properly हम इस concept को भी अच्छी तरीके से समझ पाएं. Okay, so when we are talking about, when we are discussing यहाँ पर कुछ कुछ चीजें जो हमें याद रखनी है about post structuralist theory. पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म आफ्टर स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म होता है. स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म क्या कह रहा है? ऑर्डर. स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म कह रहा है सेंटर है. सो फॉर इंस्टेंस इफ दिस इज अ नोटबुक, दिस इज कमिंग विद इन द सेंटर ऑफ स्टेशनरी. or if these are your writing pads for instance, what are they coming under? They are coming under the category of stationery for instance, right? तो आप यहाँ पर क्या देख पाते हो? You are able to see that post structuralist theories, post structuralism क्या कर रहा है? पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म एक तरह से आफ्टर स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म, स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म जो ऑर्डर, कोहेजन, क्लासिफिकेशन कर रहा है, उसको डिस्टेबलाइज कर रहा है. दैट इज व्हाट बेसिकली पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिस्ट थ्योरीज आर प्राइमरीली ट्राइंग टू डू. तो दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू विल हैव टू कीप इन माइंड, दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू विल हैव टू रिमेंबर. ना हमारा आज का एजेंडा क्या होने वाला है? वी विल बी अंडरस्टैंडिंग, विल बी डिकोडिंग वाया दिस पर्टिकुलर कॉन्सेप्ट मास्टर क्लास, क्विक मास्टर क्लास. विल बी लुकिंग एट योर पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म कॉन्सेप्ट्स देखेंगे. वी विल बी आल्सो सीइंग दैट हाउ यू आर एबल टू एक्चुअली इरेज द सो कॉल्ड बाइनरी ऑपोजिशन, द बाइनरी ऑपोजिशन दैट यू आर एबल टू सी. जैसे स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म करेगा ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट, इधर से रेड और ब्लू, तो एक तरह से बाइनरी बन जाती है. उस बाइनरी को तोड़ने की एक तरह से you are able to see that is what deconstruction actually tries to do. So please remember that. Also please keep this in mind that when we are looking at, when we are talking about post structuralism, हम लोग यहाँ पर क्या देख पाते हैं? We are able to see that post structuralism deconstruction is primarily trying to ensure that आप एक तरह से nuanced way में सारी चीजों को देख रहे हैं, उनके multiple meanings को decode कर रहे हैं. You are not being rigid and fixated at one particular meaning. That is the essence. We will also be looking at Julia Kristeva's notion of intertextuality. Aporia का concept भी हम देखेंगे, and we'll also be looking at the concept, and we'll also be looking at the concept of decanonization, right? We'll be looking at the concept of decanonization. Please keep that in mind. Now, when we are talking about, when we are looking at, when we are understanding structuralism क्या कह रहा था? Structuralism कह रहा था, wow, हमें पता चल गया है, ये जैसे एक genre है, इस genre में ये सब होगा. डिटेक्टिव फिक्शन है तो ये चीजें होंगी, गॉथिक राइटिंग्स है तो ये चीज होगी, न्यू गेट नॉवेल्स है तो ये इस तरह के फीचर्स होंगे, सिल्वर फोक नॉवेल्स है तो इस तरह के फीचर्स होंगे. Structuralism was trying to get method to the madness. It wanted to arrange, it wanted to understand things properly. तो structuralism एक तरह से क्या करने की कोशिश कर रहा था? Structuralism was trying to ensure that everybody is trying to organize things a little better. जबकि deconstruction क्या कह रहा है? No, there can never be one settling thing. For instance, I am not the same today as I was, say, 2 years ago, and I will not be the same 2 years henceforth, because every day constantly there is exposure to new experiences which either will make me thick skinned or will make sure that I'm becoming much more centered, focused, level headed person, stoic person, etc. तो आप यहाँ पे क्या देख पाते हो? That is what deconstruction tries to tell you, that multiple voices are there. What is deconstruction primarily trying to tell you? Deconstruction primarily is trying to tell you that there is the presence of multiple voices. तो आप एक तरह से promote कर रहे हो. You are promoting that there is no fixed meaning possible. That is what you are actually able to see. Now, this is very important and of primary essence. Deconstruction के origins is actually from philosophy, because philosophers are constantly saying that try. देखो जो आप देखते हो आपका ancient Socratic method of dialogue. What is that ancient method, Socratic method of dialogue? वो ancient method, Socratic method यही तो आपको बोल रहा है, try and decode the multiple perspectives, try and unearth the multiple perspectives, try and understand the multiple aspects. यही चीज वो आपको बताने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. Right? This is what they are constantly trying to tell you, that decode, understand, properly make sense. So origins of deconstruction are actually in philosophy. The origins of deconstruction are primarily in in your overall philosophy. This is something that you will have to understand. So Martin Heidegger, Being and Time भी एक तरह से was actually trying to tell you कि you will have to deconstruct. There is no notion. अभी अगर जैसे if it is, say, whatever date it is in February 2024 at a particular time, it's just not this. I can go back, I can go in future, I can think about it. So you're deconstructing. So origins क्या है deconstruction के? Heidegger का Being and Time. Even philosophers are a major sort of an inspiration. So what is the key difference between structuralism and post-structuralism? Structuralism wants to understand the structure of fixed meaning. Deconstruction says there is no fixed meaning possible. I hope this is absolutely clear. Deconstruction says you can never have a fixed meaning at all. तो deconstruction आपको basically क्या बताने की कोशिश कर रहा है? Deconstruction very simply is trying to tell you that possibility of a fixed set of structure or principle which is centered to structuralism is not possible in post-structuralism. ठीक है? So what is post-structuralism primarily trying to do? Post-structuralism primarily क्या करने की कोशिश करता है? It tries to tell you systematic knowledge is not possible. ठीक है, सबसे पहले आपको क्या बताने की कोशिश कर रहा है? स्ट्रक्चरलिस्ट कह रहे थे systematic knowledge is possible. So for your net preparation, of course, believe in structuralists, right? But also at the end of the day, when you clear your net JRF, you'll actually देखो, I'll honestly tell you, हम लोग ये success stories करते हैं students की, right? We tell you here and there, ये story है, ऐसे पढ़ना है. But honestly ना, जब भी एक aspirant नेट को क्लियर करता है या JRF को क्लियर करता है ना, तो ऑफकोर्स वो आपको अपनी स्ट्रैटेजी तो बता देंगे, बट कहीं नोटिस करना, द स्ट्रैटेजी इज ऑलवेज that they also don't know that okay, this is short that book जिसमें से सारे questions आए हैं, no, yeah, this is that particular resource जिसमें से सारे questions आए हैं, no. It's a very deconstructive approach to clearing JRF in literature. Why? Because you are able to see that when you are trying to attempt, आप जो भी पढ़ते हैं, सब कुछ पढ़ते हैं, इधर से पढ़ते हैं, वहां से देख रहे हैं, किसी इंटरनेट से देख रहे हैं, किसी वीडियो से देख रहे हैं, कहीं ना कहीं everything is actually contributing to your knowledge. So even though we try to get a structure, we have your sessions that go on, you have your parallel quizzes and mock tests that you're having. बट स्टिल आप यहाँ पर एक चीज जो आपको याद रखनी है वो क्या है कि whenever we are looking at, we need to remember that obviously it's a very deconstructive approach. You need to read everything, you need to mull over everything, you need to look at multiple things altogether. Okay, so please remember that text can't contradict that entire opinion. So deconstruction आपको क्या बताना चाह रहा है? Deconstruction is trying to tell you that meaning, it's trying to tell you about this moment of undecidability, contradictory discourses के बारे में आपको पता चलता है, gaps के बारे में पता चलता है, incoherences के बारे में पता चलता है. That is the major point. You want to subvert You want to identify the problems, want to identify the gaps, you want to identify, that is what you're trying to dismantle. That is what you're trying to dismantle. ये चीज आपको ध्यान में रखनी है, right? This is something that you will have to keep in mind. This is something that you will have to remember. So when we are talking about deconstruction, deconstruction क्या करने की कोशिश कर रहा है? Deconstruction very easily, very simply is trying to ensure, right? Deconstruction very simply, very easily is trying to ensure, trying to make it possible कि किस तरह से, right? किस तरह से we are able to see, किस तरह से we are able to observe, किस तरह से we are able to see the infinite scope which is possible, multiple meanings are possible altogether. That is something which is the most critical definition of deconstruction that we'll have to keep in mind. Okay, Derrida also, he also opposed the metaphysics of presence. Metaphysics of presence उल्टा ये metaphysics of absence बताते हैं, right? Hierarchy of binaries. देखो basically क्या हो रहा था, structuralism क्या कर रहा था, writing and जैसे for instance if it's writing and you're speaking was given more importance क्योंकि आप justify कर सकते हो, जो आपने लिखा है आप उसको justify कर रहे हो. But that sort of binary that creates hierarchy, deconstruction उसको हटाने की कोशिश कर रहा है, right? Deconstruction is against logocentrism, right? The spoken word and the written word के बीच में जो hierarchy आ जाती है. So you are trying to decenter the text. You are trying to say that there are contradictions. You cannot have one kind of literature that is prevalent, right? That was something which was very important to be here. ये चीज आपको थोड़ी बहुत ध्यान में रखनी पड़ेगी. And this is where we are able to see that अच्छा एक और चीज प्लीज याद रखना, एक common misconception क्या होता है, that deconstruction is trying to read text from outside. That's not the case. Deconstruction आपको क्या बताने की कोशिश कर रहा है? Deconstruction very simply put, deconstruction very simply put, what is it actually trying to do? What is deconstruction primarily trying to do? Deconstruction is of course trying to tell you about close reading of text. वो बता रहे हैं कि आपको टेक्स्ट को क्लोजली रीड करना पड़ेगा, आपको टेक्स्ट जो आपके हैं अवेलेबल उनको अच्छी तरह से देखना पड़ेगा, उनको अच्छी तरह से आइडेंटिफाई करना पड़ेगा. तो ये तो वो बोल ही रहे हैं, राइट? ये तो वो एक तरह से बोल ही रहे हैं. दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू शुडंट रियली get it wrong, because a lot of times we get this wrong. A lot of times we think that it's trying to tell you about destructuring. That's not the case at all. So when we are looking at deconstruction, what is deconstruction primarily trying to do? It is trying to tell you that of course everything is within the text, all the fissures, all the gaps, all the contradictions, वो सब आपको text के अंदर से ही मिलेंगे. So it's not encouraging mayhem. It's not encouraging mayhem at all. ये चीज आप please इसको याद रखिएगा. Okay, so close reading is of course being encouraged altogether. J. Hillis Miller is a very important American deconstructionist. मैं टेलीग्राम पे भी आपको थोड़ा सा और कंटेंट दे दूंगी, जैसे येल स्कूल के बारे में थोड़ा रीड कीजिएगा, डिकंस्ट्रक्शन को अच्छी तरह से प्रॉपर्ली कवर कीजिएगा. So please remember that. Okay, now J. Hillis Miller, the preeminent American deconstructionist writer, इन्होंने ऐसे लिखा है Stevens rock in criticism as a cure. Stevens rock in criticism as a cure. काफी सारे पार्ट्स जो अभी आप यहाँ पर देख पा रहे हैं, they are all inspired by Raman Seldon's book on literary theory and criticism. Raman Seldon की बुक को मैंने टेलीग्राम पे भी सेंड किया हुआ है. Sarah Upstone को भी I have sent it, so you can actually take a look at both or either of the books altogether. Okay, so deconstruction is not dismantling. It is not dismantling of the structure, but a demonstration that it is already dismantled. Right? It's apparently solid ground is no rock but in thin air. Right? No rock but in thin air. That is what you are able to see. ठीक है, तो बाइनरी ऑपोजिशन को बिल्कुल इरेज कर दिया जाता है. यू आर जस्ट ट्राइंग टू इंश्योर दैट देयर इज अ कंप्लीट इरेजर ऑफ द बाइनरी ऑपोजिशंस. ऑलराइट, आई विल ट्राई टू create it, like I'll try to highlight it so that it's even more, sorry, not highlight it, zoom it a little bit so that you can read it a little more, give it a reading, pause it over here. But I hope you're able to understand this, that when we are looking at deconstruction wants to break the hierarchies, wants to break the boundaries altogether, doesn't believes in boundaries, hierarchies at all. Deconstruction बिल्कुल भी boundaries और hierarchies में believe नहीं करता है. ठीक है, please remember that, please keep that in mind, because that is of course very important. So what are you actually trying to see over here? You are able to see that there is a rejection of the concept of center. Center का जो concept है उसका complete negation है, right? So center is not there. Structuralism wanted a center. Structuralism wanted organized method altogether. Deconstruction mein that is not available, right? Deconstruction mein that is not available. The center is not available. And what are you going towards? You're going towards the moment of undecidability. What are you going towards? You are going towards the moment of undecidability. आप किसकी तरफ जा रहे हैं? You are actually going we're actually going towards the moment of undecidability, right? So when we are talking about undecidability, you are trying to tell you, okay, there is no proper one meaning, there is no one size fits all, right? There is no one size fits all altogether. There is the moment of undecidability that is important for deconstructionist writers and thinkers altogether. Okay, तो इसको please याद रखिएगा. And you are encouraging rereading, you are encouraging revisiting. आपको पता है when in 1941 Virginia Woolf passed away, that is not when she was actually popular, right? 1960s में where a lot of these feminist works were unearthed, that is where again you were able to see that there was a fascination for what has Virginia Woolf done, what is the contribution that Virginia Woolf has actually made altogether. वो चीज आप वहां पर देख पा रहे थे. That is something that you were actually able to see and you were able to look at. Okay, now there is another important concept in deconstruction, that is the concept of aporia. Aporia जो आपका पूरा का पूरा meaning है, what does it actually mean over here? Again, this point of, so when we are talking about this moment of undecidability, that is the site where the meaning will come out. That is the site where the meaning will actually come out, that disruption, that gap. Writers like Lawrence Stern, when we look at Tobias Smollett, so all of these writers like Lawrence Stern, Tobias Smollett, they are actually postmodernist in that way. They are deconstructionist writers already. Miguel de Cervantes's works altogether, Don Quixote हो गया world literature के अंदर. तो आप यहाँ पे क्या देख पाते हो? You are able to see that all of these writings, right? All of these writings are predominantly writings, all of these writings are predominantly writings which are encouraging aporia, the moment of undecidability, the moment of undecidability. Okay? When you are uncertain, you are doubtful, right? That is the moment of aporia. That is the moment of aporia. Look at Elizabeth Barrett Browning. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways, right? How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. So you're actually not very clear. That moment of undecidability, that is aporia, that you are able to see. ठीक है? और आप देख पाते हो, it is not that हम लोग in the 20th century are talking about it. Look at the ancient Greek philosophers when they were encouraging dialogue. जब वो dialogue को encourage कर रहे थे, automatically what were they encouraging? Automatically they were encouraging a Socratic method. A Socratic method actually encouraged these fissures, these gaps to come out. आपका कोई और perspective है, मेरा कोई और opinion है, किसी और का कुछ और opinion हो जाएगा, किसी और का कोई और response है, तो that is what is being encouraged. That is what is being encouraged over here. तो ये चीज आपको थोड़ी सी याद रखनी है. This is something that you will have to keep in mind. The Socratic method of aporia, where you're taking multiple methods, multiple perspectives all together to formulate an opinion. And like I said, ये कौन है? ये आपके Yale school के philosophers हैं. These are Yale school के philosophers. That is what you are able to see. So Yale school, again, very important. This was also like I told you, actually even Nietzschean fair play of signifiers. ये John D. Capute बोलते हैं. John D. Capute also talks about it, right? So again, the free play that you are able to see, you are able to look at that how these people are encouraging a certain disruptive behavior overall. तो वो चीज आपका पूरा का पूरा आ जाता है. Julia Kristeva, extremely important when we are looking at Julia Kristeva, her analysis of Bakhtinian concepts of dialogism, carnival, ये आपके लिए बहुत ज्यादा important हो जाता है. Why is this so very important? This is important because when you are looking at carnival, this is the site that is being encouraged. So Bakhtin हो गए, Foucault हो गए, तभी लोगों को deconstructionist forefathers बोला जाता है या important people बोला जाता है because they are encouraging you to think in that particular way. So intertextuality, all texts are correlated. All texts have a unifying point. All texts are merging together at some place. That is what is being encouraged. Right? तो ये चीज आपको थोड़ा सा याद रखनी है. All texts are intertext. All texts are intertext. There are everything is fluid. There is nothing static. There is nothing rigid altogether. That is what you're able to see over here. तो ये चीज आपको थोड़ी बहुत याद रखनी पड़ेगी. And please remember, last but not the least, the concept of decanonization. You are trying to make sure कि आपके जो lesser known literature literary categories हैं, your queer studies, your trauma literature, your disability studies, ये सारे के सारे aesthetics वापस आ रहे हैं at the forefront. So that is how deconstruction as a thought process gives way to cultural studies also, right? So I hope you will be able to understand. Please इनके proper notes एक बार अच्छी तरह से बना लीजिएगा. Try to put them all together to understand the concepts of Aporia, the moment of undecidability, the concepts of intertextuality by Julia Kristeva, the concept of decanonization, जो deconstruction encourage करता है, how it is trying to tell you that all texts are fluid, they are fast paced changing, कोई एक rigid center आप इनका नहीं define कर सकते हैं. So like I said, as your homework today, please make sure I'll put it on the Telegram platform also. मैं excerpts दे दूंगी of both the books that I've shared, Raman Selden and Sarah Upstone, so that you can actually go back, you can actually revisit all together your post-structuralism from these resources. So post-structuralism के notes, Yale critics के नाम ये आपको on your fingertips होने चाहिए. This is something which is very important. Okay. In case if there are any other doubts, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. We'll be happy to help you out. I'll catch up with all of you in the next session. Take care. Thank you.